Okay, so I got a question that I want some crowd participation for. How many of you guys have seen the show Top Gear? Okay, all right. And out of you guys, how many of you guys would consider yourself a car enthusiast? It's a little less. Well, again, I do watch the show Top Gear, and I would consider myself a car enthusiast. And first, I want to let you guys know how a car enthusiast might describe the Audi R8 GT. 560 horsepower, 398 foot-pounds of torque, all being forced to every wheel of the 3,362-pound beast of a car. The 44 to 56 weight distribution helps the V10 engine, which is turning at a rate of 8,000 revolutions per minute at redline, hug the banks with precision cornering balance and reach a top speed of 198.82 miles per hour. But to the common ear, who really cares? Who really cares, right? Let alone knows what half of it means. On the show Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson is able to describe the Audi R8 GT in much more understandable terms. Quote, "It's not the speed, though, that impresses you most of all. It's the way this thing feels around the corners. Driving most supercars, it's like trying to push a cow up a back staircase. This, however, is like smearing honey into Keira Knightley." Jeremy Clarkson and his fellow hosts James May and Richard Hammond are able to turn their automobile BBC television show Top Gear into one of the most highly viewed shows in the UK and the most popular factual program on TV in 2006, beating out Planet Earth. For my topic, I'm going to be discussing the British show and talking about what particular British humor that the show uses in regards to British culture, and that what particularly that these three hosts / journalists / comedians possess that can draw more than 350 million viewers from over 90 countries, many of which have no care whatsoever about cars. During this presentation, I'm going to explain how Jeremy Clarkson, who's the guy you just saw, Richard Hammond, and James May all use humor particular to British culture and are able to appeal to the audience in various ways. First of which being ethnic humor, second of which being male-dominated humor, and third of which using an element called parody, and specifically leveling within the parody, that is able to appeal to their audience in various ways. To start, normally speaking, when thinking about ethnic humor, first comedians that come to mind are usually the marginalized comedians. You have the black comedian, or the Jewish comedian, or the Arab comedian. But in the case of Top Gear, this isn't so. The hosts are three middle-aged white British men who use ethnic humor as a primary source of their comedy. As Davies concluded in his piece on ethnic humor, it is not often that the majority can joke against the minorities and get away with it. In an episode titled The Middle East Special, the hosts are dropped into Iraq in an attempt to reenact the journey of the three wise men on their trip to Bethlehem. Immediately, all they can think of is how the country is dangerous, and everywhere they turn, they're either going to get shot or run over a landmine. They don't talk to anybody, they don't stop anywhere. All they do is huddle underneath their cars in their Kevlar vests and their military-grade helmets. And they're just paranoid the entire time. But the stereotypical view of Iraq and the Middle East is shattered, however, once the hosts actually drive around the countryside, meet people, and view the beautiful picturesque views of the countryside. Once this becomes a realization, the hosts take off their Kevlar vests and military helmets and realize that it's really not so bad. The incongruity of the joke, as Harriman would argue, hits home when the hosts are able to bring across to the audience that these stereotypical views aren't always the case in the Middle East. The BBC is quoted, quote, "We are sorry if we have offended some people, but jokes centered on national stereotyping is part of Top Gear's humor, and indeed a robust part of our national humor. We make jokes about Italians being overdramatic, the French being arrogant, and Germans being overorganized. When we do it, we are being rude, yes, and mischievous, but there's no vindictiveness behind our comments. This may be an attempt for BBC to cover their asses, or to protect Top Gear. But in my opinion, I feel like it gives us some good insight into British culture and their views on ethnic humor. In the case of Top Gear, the ethnic humor is funny because at times it's completely over the top and ridiculous. But what they do a very good job of is they're able to turn it back around and create a positive message toward the audience. Another aspect of the show that is able to use the British humor is that of masculine dominated humor. The three hosts on the show constantly bicker over matters of manhood and what it means to be a man. Come across similar to Jake's presentation. On the show, they also talk about that a lot, you know. But for one, Jeremy Clarkson, the main host on the show, is 6 feet 4 inches tall, and Richard Hammond, his co-host right here, is 5'7". This alone leads way to a barrage of tall, short, demasculating jokes from one to the other. Also, the third host on the show, James May, often comes off as very shy and he's very laid back, and they tend to make fun of him for not being good with the ladies, and they joke about that all the time. But again, similar to how this is able to turn around and transgress, similarly to how it does in ethnic humor, the show tends to turn that back around. In many cases on the show, the shorter host, Richard Hammond, usually is a better driver, and he beats Jeremy Clarkson in all the racing events. And for some reason on the show, the host that they say is shy and is not good with the ladies always tends to somehow end up with the woman in his car or talk on the desk. And lastly, one of the best ways another way that Top Gear is able to accentuate the British humor is by using parody. Specifically, a function of parody described by Harriman as leveling. This is when something is to go right, but it ends up failing miserably, relating well to everyday encounters with the common man. Back in the 1970s, a British car company called Reliant made a 3-wheel motor car called the Robin. To prove his driving skills, main host Jeremy Clarkson wanted to take this thing for a spin and to show everybody that it can be conquered. And I've got a clip to show. What is it working on?
The big engine increased.
Okay, that's enough for that.
Yeah.
The top speed too. It would now do 85. And that was catastrophic as well.
No, not again! Oh no! 50 years old. I'm on the side of a street in Sheffield.
As you can see, this doesn't turn out very well. This shows that a man who drives for a living and who's this cocky, kind of arrogant guy sometimes can't get it to go his way. And this is a segment, this is a piece of the show that happens very often. That something that they perceive to go well, you know, they make all these facts, these claims about the car, and then it tends to degenerate and something always ridiculous happens or silly or crazy happens. And this is just this is just one particular segment, but this happens on basically every single episode between the three hosts. And this is because of the camaraderie that they have between them. And this should also be seen in a segment where, so the camaraderie that they have between them, where one of them they will start off the show by being very punctual and factual, stating some facts about the car per se, and then the other host will come by and either pull a prank on them, write something on their door, or run into the back of them in a joking, silly manner. And again, this is degenerate, which is described by him. And as you can see, I've done many studies, and a study that I just done, I found that 9 out of 10 people found that talking shit to their friends is funny and normal. So this is also really funny because those who don't care so much about the cars in the beginning of the segments about maybe the facts about the cars can relate well back to the car, and they get to see these guys' joking manner, and they get to see how just normal guys can joke between each other, and it comes off as very funny. In summary, hosts Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May are hilarious, and if you get a chance to watch the show, you will definitely be laughing as well. They're able to transform their factual car show into a provocative, multifaceted comedy show for an audience of all ages, locale, and genders alike. By using different formats on the show, the hosts are able to accentuate their own personalities and characters and let them shine. The hosts send jokes in each other's direction, creating camaraderie that is rarely seen on television. And by doing so, they're able to retain such a large number of their fans and viewers, then that they're able to relate to just about every audience, not just the quote-unquote gearheads like myself and Chris in the back of the room. For those of you who are interested, Top Gear airs on BBC as well as Speed Channel, and you can also find the series on Netflix. Thank you. That's what it is.